Hey guys, welcome to Fantasy Basketball, the Trash Talk channel. I'm here with my good friend Ricky today. Say hey, Ricky.
Hey Josh.
Ricky is a fantasy basketball newbie, and we're going to be talking about his team that he just drafted, and we're going to be discussing how to use the wire, how to add players. Right, Ricky?
Yes, I need reinforcements.
This should be pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get Google Chrome up. Ricky's reasonable team. First of all, I guess I'm looking at your screen right now. You can see it as well, right?
Yeah.
Talk me through what your thought process was when you drafted these players. Who are you happy with so far? Who do you have a problem with?
I'm happy with my top couple of picks, like Tatum, Middleton. Some of the top ones I'm pretty happy with. And once you get past the five or six, then it's about who do you want to start punting, what categories you want to do, and then towards the end is just picking players that stay healthy, and then it becomes strength in numbers. As long as you keep on pouring those stats, then you have a chance.
Now, Yahoo has this feature over here called Ranks, where you really want to kind of, as quickly as possible, get away from looking at their preseason rankings because those are garbage. And so what you're looking at right here, and now as the season goes on, you'll want to pay attention to 30 days, 14 days, 7 days, because we're only a week into the season right now. They're all the same number. You see that in the middle? So right now, the best player that you've had so far is Lonzo Ball, which is pretty funny. Although these numbers haven't calculated, Jimmy Butler had a monster game tonight. He went for 36 points, 5 steals, shot 71%. So also Horford had a really good game, like two actually. But Jesus, man, 17 and 10 with 6 stocks is incredible. A stock is a steal and a block. So let's look at your matchup. Let's check out what happened to you last week. So I'm going to click on your matchup for week 2. I'm going to go back to week 1. We've got to go down to your team. Ricky's reasonable team. You lost 6-3. Not that bad, not that good. It could be a lot worse. Could lose 7-2. Okay. Your field goal percentage last week, 41%. Okay. Let's glance at your players really quickly, and I think that's not that outrageous, actually. So I'm looking at your guys, right? Conley is a low field goal percentage guy. Tatum is a low field goal percentage guy. Middleton is solid. DeRozan's solid, but Hunter's pretty low. SGA is going to be low. Clarkson's going to be low. The guys that you have on high volume, okay, are going to be a little lower. So I think 41% was low for you, but I do feel like your team, just eyeballing it, and we're so early in the season that projections aren't really going to help as much. I do feel like you're a 44, 45% field goal percentage team. So if you're going to punt, you're pretty close towards punting field goal percentage already. And you got some key guys, like especially Clarkson, SGA, and Conley, that they get a lot better in that. So your free throw percentage, 79%. I'm guessing Drummond really brought you down. And who else really killed you? Yeah, it's really early in the season. It's really jittery. You didn't make any moves, did you?
I didn't make any moves. And in free throw, I think even the sure shot guys are not shooting well. They didn't shoot well last week.
And your opponent shot 89%, which is pretty hard to do. Okay, so let's start with the basics, okay? You have 3 things called an injured reserve, and you have 1 thing called an injured reserve plus, okay? So when a player has a tag, like right now, Andre Drummond has a GTD tag, you can click on him in your browser. I'll tell you what, I can show you in my team, although my team's already going to be optimized. So on my team, you see how I have Victor Oladipo and Jonathan Isaac in my injured list, and then I have Kyrie Irving in my injured list plus. Those are guys that I was pretty certain weren't going to play this week. So I moved them there, and that opened up a slot for me to stream. Now let's go back to your team. And you have at least 1 person that you can put in an injured reserve spot. So you can take Andre Drummond or Al Horford or DeAndre Hunter. Andre Drummond had a really bad ankle injury. I watched it happen. He tried to play through it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he plays tomorrow. He's listed as questionable right now. So why don't you, from your browser, go ahead and put Andre Drummond on the injured plus, IL plus. You click move and then move them there. And that's gonna open up your first streaming slot. Okay. Now, this league is 4 moves a week. Is that correct?
I think is it 5?
I don't know. Why don't you tell me? You're the one who's looking at your looking at your screen. What's the name of your league again?
The
Money Where Your Mouth Is?
Yeah.
Okay. It is 5 moves a week. Okay. So that means that if you use this spot correctly, you're going to be able to get at least 7 games out of it. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So there's a really cool website called #basketball. This is going to be your new best friend. Okay. #basketball shows you the schedule for every week in fantasy. So if you look at my screen right now, I'm looking at week 2 and I can sort it.
Yep.
So what I would do is I would go over to your team and click the opponents button. And that is going to show me your team games, okay? So what's jumping out to me right now, this 10:30, which is Saturday. Is that right? Yeah. Saturday, you got way too many games, brother. You got 11 games here, plus Drummond, plus that slot that you have open. Yeah. So when we look to add a player, we're not going to want to add a player that's playing on Saturday because you already have those games filled. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because then they won't get it as any points on Saturday.
Exactly. So now we moved Drummond. Today's Monday. We already lost Monday. We could have added somebody. We could have earlier today. We could have used that first move, and we could have moved Drummond to that IR reserve, and now we're adding a player. So what we want to do is we want to add players that move the margins on close matchups. Okay. Now, there's a tool that is really good that I am not sure if it's been updated yet for this season. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it hasn't been updated yet for this season. It's called Fantasy Basketball Wizard. And I have it installed on this Chrome app. Let's see if it...
Okay, Wzrd, WZRD.
Yeah, go ahead and install that. It takes them like a week or 2 for it to boot up. So I don't think it's booted up yet. But when it's booted up, you use the Fantasy Basketball Wizard, this little extension up here, and it gives you a projection of what, or maybe I have to go to matchup totals to see it. Oh yeah, it works. There you go. So you click on matchup totals here, and then their tool gives you a projection for what they think the matchup's going to be. So that the number at the top here, that's what the score actually is. And then the number at the bottom, that's the projections from Wzrd. So I'm going to go to you real quick because I have it installed and we're looking at my screen. And now I can use Fantasy Basketball Wizard. Remember that Chrome extension that we downloaded.
Yeah.
And well, I'm just saying this for the audience at home if they're listening. And now I click matchup totals and it loads Wzrd. And now Wzrd's telling me what your projection is. So Wzrd thinks you're going to win this matchup this week 5-4. Wzrd thinks that you're a 51% field goal per shooting team. Wzrd thinks you just had a bad matchup last week and that you're going to rebound, okay? Now, I want you to know from using this in the past, the first couple weeks of Wzrd, the data that it's being fed is like really bad because it hasn't had enough games, right? So you really don't want to start using this until week 2 or week 3, but it's something in a 20-week season you're going to use a lot. And the reason that I know that the Wzrd data is bad is because you look over here and it's showing that you're only going to have 3 blocks for the entire week. And we know that's not right. So remember that Wzrd's going to take a week or 2, but let's still look at it and the principles apply. Let's say you were using this tool and it was showing you that you were projected to win, but you were projected to lose assists by just 2 assists, right? Well, now we know we created that spot for us to stream by putting Andre Drummond on the injured reserve list. Now what we're going to do is we're going to want to add a player that helps us in what category?
Do we want the ones we're losing by a little or the ones that we're winning by a thin margin that we want to pad on that?
Let's simplify it, right? Get out a piece of paper and a pen, and this is a really good exercise to do a couple times until you can do it mentally. It'll just simplify your decisions. Like I actually, sometimes, because I'm playing in 10 different leagues, I will actually get out a piece of paper and pen. And I will write field goal, free throw, 3-point, right? All 9 categories going left to right, okay? And then cross off the ones for that week. So write your team name, which for you're only playing one league. It's not going to matter to you. But what I do is I write my team name, and then I cross off all the categories that I've either guaranteed to win or guaranteed to lose. So in this projection right here, which, by the way, it just changed over. Wizard, I guess, like just
updated.
just worked while we were talking. Now these numbers look more realistic. But again, don't put too much stock in Wizard until like week 3 because it needs to be fed more data. It usually isn't accurate until it's got like 7 or 8 games per player. So now let's look at this. Okay, field goal percentage, 0.4. That's a pretty healthy gap, but we're going to call that a contested category. Okay, turnovers, cross turnovers off. You're projected to win turnovers by 33 turnovers. He is not going to take turnovers from you. That is a category that you have won. And then blocks, he's projected to win blocks by almost 50% more than you. That's a category he's going to win. So blocks and turnovers, we can cross those out. That means there's only 7 categories we're looking at. Right now, again, remember, not right now we're going to trust Wizard, but just for the purpose of this exercise, Wizard thinks you're going to lose 3-point made by 23. That's a lot. 23 is a lot. If we have one streaming slot and we play all 7 games out of it, we would need not only a little bit of luck, but we would need to average 3 made 3-pointers per game in that slot to just get us in strike range. So that still wouldn't be enough. A realistic number of threes that you can expect to get from a streaming slot is between 1.5 and 2. There's just no way that you're going to get like a guy that hits 3 threes coming off the bench that was on the wire every single day for 7 days in a row. So we can cross 3-point made off. That's a category that we're not going to win. And rebounds. 20 rebounds is actually, does your gut say that that's a gap that you can close, or does your gut say that that's a gap that you can't win?
I can close. Can just find a big guy that can get whatever 15, 20 minutes a game.
I actually agree 100%. And the reason that I agree is because when you think about it, one player can get you 8 or 9 rebounds really easily. That's not a hard thing to do. So if you're only down 20 rebounds and you're streaming 7 games, you could expect to easily get 40 to 60 rebounds in the week. That's a realistic number. So we're going to circle rebounds, don't cross it out. You're down 20 assists. That is also a number that is attackable. You can get 3 or 4 assists a game on the waiver wire. 3 or 4 times 7, 20, 25. You can make that 20 assists up. Steals is great. Steals is a one steal. So we're it looks to me like we're looking for a guy that we would like to be a good free throw shooter because that free throw gap is really small. We don't really care if the guy makes threes. We'd like him to score because that gap is very small. 30 points is nothing. If you look at these as a percentage, right, you're only getting 25 total blocks. You're getting 930 points. So that the gap of 10 blocks is infinitely larger than the gap of 30 points. Does that make sense? Not infinitely, but it's significantly larger because, you have, you have 1/40th as many blocks as you have points, basically. So every block is worth about 35, 40 points, something in that neighborhood, which is why shot blockers get so high rankings. Like a guy that can average 1.5 blocks is like usually more valuable than a 20-point per game scorer, all other things being equal. It's why Colin Sexton has a really hard time breaking the top 75. So our categories we're looking at are rebounds, assists, steals, points. We don't want a bad free throw shooter. Okay? So this is the area we're going to target. Now that we know that, and we looked at that on a Sunday afternoon as we looked at our matchup for the week, now we can go over to the players section. And these are all the players that are available in this league. Okay? Now what we do, here's the first thing I always do, is I sort by MPG, minutes per game. The stats will lie to you. I just made a video. It's on my YouTube page if you want to check it out, that talks about how I value players that I think are values on the wire. You can check that. It won't be as in-depth as this. This is a in-depth coaching video. But MPG really matters more than anything else right now. If a guy's getting 31 minutes, like KCP, let's see. These numbers have not reset yet. The Nets blew out the Wizards. I'm going to guess KCP got at least 26 minutes per game. Okay, so it was a big blowout. The 14 points isn't really accurate. He still got 25 minutes, and I guess 26. That's great. 25 minutes is really rosterable. 27, 35, 24. These are good minutes. Patty Mills is a baller. Patty Mills, 29 minutes, 30 minutes, 32 minutes. These are good minutes, okay? So we'll start with the minutes, and then what were our categories we were looking for?
We want what?
Points,
Free throw
rebounds.
points, rebounds, assists, and steals.
Yeah, we don't really care about free throw percentage. We just don't want a guy to be atrociously bad.
Yeah.
And another thing to remember is you can't just, especially if you're new, don't just look at these percentages, because these percentages do not capture volume. One thing that's really good is Basketball Monster, and I'll show you how to do that real quick. Basketball Monster calculates Z-score, okay? So two players that are 80% free throw percentage are not the same. What you really want is their Z-score, and their Z-score, as I look over here, it's right here. So Paul George's Z-score so far this season is 1.4, okay? Now look at this. Paul George is a perfect free throw shooter on the season. He hasn't missed. CJ McCollum hasn't missed either. But Paul George's Z-score is a 1.4, and CJ McCollum's is a 0.45. Why is that? It's because of volume. So remember, any guy that you're getting on the wire is probably not a very high volume free. So let's see who has the most free throw attempts. It's Alex Len. That is a crazy number. And these numbers, there'll be some crazy numbers because of how early it is in the season. But like most of these guys, like, okay, Cody Martin, 4 free throw attempts per game, 3 free throw attempts per game. You're going to expect on the bench, on the wire, to see somebody who's got between like 2 and 4 free throw attempts per game. Their percentage will not kill you unless it's like they shoot 50% on 5 attempts. So like we don't really need to focus that much. We're focusing on points, rebounds, assists, and steals, because those are all categories that you can potentially win. So I sorted this list by MPG, knowing that those are the categories we care about. Do any players jump out to you right now?
All right, points. So what? So Mills gets points.
Points, rebounds, assists, and steals. Patty Mills is pretty good points, pretty bad rebounds. Okay, assists. There's just not going to be a ton of assists on the wire, right? Like Patrick Beverly is here. He gives you 0 assists, 6 assists, 2 assists. He's just not going to be a high assist guy. Elfrid Payton has this one game when the guy ahead of him, whose name escapes me right now, got hurt. But he's just not a reliable guy. Assists are really hard to find reliably. It looks like Ish Smith might actually be one of the most reliable sources of assists that's on the wire right now. Campazzo is also really reliable. So assists-wise, we want to look over here at MPG, and Elfrid Payton's jumping out. But remember, always check, especially early in the season, is there someone injured and that's why the guy had a spike, right? I'm telling you who I'm eyeing right now. I sorted by MPG. The problem is the waiver system, which we won't explain on this video. So it'd be a couple days until you can get them, because today's the 25th. But Patty Mills looks pretty good to me. Almost a steal. 2 assists is solid. 2.7 rebounds is low. But 12.3 points is pretty good. There's just not, like, he's like the 8th or 9th best scorer that's available. And to me, Patty Mills' role is a lot more set in stone than Grant Williams, Neto, Korkmaz, Payton. The only guys I would say have a better role are Ross, McDermott, and Eric Gordon. So those 3 guys. But Eric Gordon's going to hurt your field goal percentage. McDermott's not going to help you at all with assists or steals. And Terrence Ross he's even worse than Patty Mills on rebounds, assists, and steals. So it looks like Patty Mills.
Yep.
Like, now, here's the thing. Are you just going to add Patty Mills and then get 3 games out of him this week? No, you're not. The cool thing is what you're going to do is you're going to add a player every day. Yeah. And sometimes what you're going to do is you're not going to add a player because, like, look, see the Nuggets right now? The Nuggets play on Friday and Saturday. Yeah. They also play on Monday and Tuesday. So if you add – so today's Monday. So let's look at only teams that are playing on Tuesday. I filtered that out. And there's 2 teams that jump out to me, the Lakers and the Thunder, because they play Tuesday, Wednesday. So if you add a Lakers player or a Thunder player right now, you're going to get 2 games out of 1 ad. And remember, you only have 5. So if you use your 5 ads correctly, and 2 of those ads that you make are back-to-back games, now you got 7 games out of that roster slot. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So let's take a quick look at the Thunder and let's take a look at the Lakers. So we can go up here and we can sort by the team that we're looking at. There's the LA Lakers. And then let's see who the best player they have by minutes who's available. So Kent Bazemore. Do we like his minutes? 31, 23, 28, pretty good minutes.
Yep.
We like his 3 points made. His points are okay. But remember, you can double any number you're looking at because you're getting 2 games in a row from him for 1 ad.
Yeah.
So if he's averaging, let's call it like 9 points per game so far, that's really like you're kind of getting 18. If he's averaging 1.5 threes, that's really like you're getting 3 out of 1 move.
Yeah.
He's really giving us nothing in terms of assists and rebounds. So, like, let's see, is there anyone else in the Lakers we'd like? What's Malik Monk been up to? His minutes are lower. It looks like he's a slightly better player, but he's getting less minutes. On this team, I would probably lean towards Kent Bazemore. Let's check out the Thunder, though, because remember, they also had the back-to-backs.
Yeah.
And I'm going extra. So, like, when I do these things, I'll spend, like, at max, like 5 minutes per team making my moves for the week. And the cool thing is, like, I just remember, I'm like, oh, on Tuesday, I always need to be adding a Laker or a Thunder there. I never need to be adding a player that plays on Saturday. You just remember certain things like this, and then you just know it for the entire week. So, you know, the fun
have to come and do it every day. You can't set in advance that add this on Wednesday.
There's not a well with the waiver process, you can make a move slightly in advance, but like we're talking about, you know, you can memorize all your moves on a Sunday, and then you just have to go in and do them. But if you're any kind of degenerate like me, you're going to check to see if you're winning a couple times throughout the night. You're like, how am I doing? You know, and how am I doing? How am I doing? And that's when you set your roster for the next day.
Yeah. One more point on the back-to-back games. The minutes may actually be higher than usual because there's a more tendency to rest some of the starters during a
Yes. You're less likely to rest a bench player unless they're super old, like LaMarcus Aldridge. The younger teams, like the Thunder, that shouldn't really matter. The Thunder are a tire fire, though. I actually don't hate Theo Maledon or Kendrick Williams. Kendrick Williams is a really good, like, overall, or Kenrick Williams is a really good all-around producer. He does not get a ton of minutes, but you'll notice, like, it hasn't really shown yet this season, but I just know from last season he gets some sneaky steals and blocks. He just kind of gives you all-around production. I don't hate him at all. And then Theo Maledon is getting even less minutes. If just looking at this really quickly, I'm probably adding Kenrick Williams. Baisley's there as well, but Baisley's field goal percentage is garbage. He does get more minutes, and he's on waivers, so you can't direct add him. So it kind of looks like your decision is between Kenrick Williams based on this or Kent Bazemore. And don't overthink it. This isn't rocket science. Like, you know, you're going to make like 100 moves like this throughout the entire season. And then the players that work really well, go ahead and keep those. And the ones that are, like, you know, really bad, just dump them, get rid of them. But, you know, had we had this conversation yesterday, you could have just gone ahead and put, who was it? Andre Drummond on that IR slide. You already could have had an extra game today. And those little extra games, like, that would have probably caused you to win your matchup. Let's see how close your matchup was last week. Would you have won your matchup with, like, just a streamer's level of production? Let's see. So last week you lost blocks by 8. You probably still would have lost that. You lost. You won blocks. So that would have been you lost assists by 25. So had you targeted assists, it would have been, like, close. He probably still would have won, but that's a winnable category. But let's look at rebounds. Rebounds was 23. You lost rebounds by 23. You could have easily flipped that. You could have easily flipped rebounds. So that now makes it a 4 or 5 loss.
But if we had a bunch of streamers, I'll probably lose the turnover.
You lost turnovers, though.
Yep, we still lost. So
yeah, that category doesn't change. So if you'd attacked rebounding, you almost certainly would have won with 7 streams.
Yep.
And then assists, you might have won. You probably would have won 3 points made too, because you only lost 3 points made by 8. So if you'd gone for, like, small forwards and power forwards that hit the occasional 3, you would have put yourself in contention for both of those. You might have lost, but honestly, like I would, if I'm looking at this and I'm like, hey, I can add 6 waiver wire moves or 6 games of waiver wire players. There was one day where you had 10 games played because everyone did
Hmm.
on that first Wednesday. Yeah, I think you could have won your matchup last week. So let's hope that with this little pep talk, you can add this week. And for this week, feel free to text me. Like you're like, hey, I'm looking at like Kent Bazemore and Kendrick Williams. Like, you have any thoughts on either of those? Like, those seem to be. Am I in the right direction? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the 4 categories that you should be targeting this week are points, rebounds, assists, and steals. Those are the ones that I feel like are gonna be in contention for you. Okay.
All right. So now we're gonna move these guys to IL. So is it IL or IL plus?
You should only. How many IL plus spots do you have? Because every league's different. I think it's just one for this league, right?
Just one. So let's say Andre Drummond. If I'm clicking on mine right now, it's only offering me IL plus. It's not.
Yes.
IL.
So you can only put a player on your IL when they have an ING tag, and to get that, they have to either be announced with a long-term injury or they have to sit for 3 games in a row. There's a chance Drummond plays tomorrow. So what I would do for tomorrow, since Horford doesn't play tomorrow and he has that GTD tag right now, go ahead and put Horford on your IR plus tomorrow instead of Drummond, because there's still a chance Drummond plays. Swap them out. And then go ahead and make your decision on who you want to add, and then make sure that you roster everybody. And then I think that you're pretty much good to go from there. Any other questions?
All right. So let me move Horford to IL plus, and that does not cost the move. So the moves are only when I picked up somebody.
Yes. It doesn't count as a move when you move your roster around.
And if Horford becomes healthy, then we would want to move him back in the lineup.
Well, the beauty of it is, right, as long as it's before the game starts, you're in a same-day lineup. So you can cut someone and move like on top until the game starts, like 6 p.m. Is going to be the time that you can do that. So if Horford becomes healthy, you would either put another player, like right now, DeAndre Hunter, anyone with a red tag, you can put in that IR plus slot. So odds are, if you're carrying 14 or 15 players because you're using your slots properly, one of them's always going to have some nagging injury. So if Drummond becomes healthy or Horford becomes healthy, you can swap him out for someone else who has a red tag because they're questionable. And you're just really utilizing that extra space, but still getting all the games. It's kind of like a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah. Right. So who we pick up? Bazemore?
Yeah, I have almost no emotional attachment. This is like it isn't a big move right now. Like there'll be big moves later. Like maybe your Saturday move, you want to like crack open a beer and like it's your last move. You're like, oh man, I really got to put some effort into it. But try not to overthink right now because you're just learning the mechanics.
Yeah.
It'll take another week or 2 before you put crazy strategy. And also remember, tools like Wizard aren't really working. Also, it looks like one of my friends' car just died. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to be tasked into becoming the AAA service. Any last questions or thoughts besides I'm an incredible fantasy basketball teacher?
I'll do that, and then so as soon as somebody becomes an INJ, you want to move them to the IL.
Yeah. As soon, like the day they get that tag, you want to move them to the IL and then add another player. There's almost no scenario where you wouldn't want to do that because if they have the ING tag, they're probably not coming back. Like 9 times out of 10, not in the short term. They're going to be out a couple weeks.
Yeah, and then when they're healthy, when they're coming back, I'm forced to move them out of the IL. I can still leave them there.
You're not forced. They can stay there, but you won't be able to add a player to your roster. So if there's an ineligible player, like a healthy player in your IL or IL plus slot, you can still drop players, but you cannot add any new players. So you wouldn't be able to use any of your add drop slots. But you can move your roster and you can change who's starting and who's on the bench.
Yeah.
And there's some light abuse that you can do with that, but most of that abuse comes into play on Saturday, Sundays, and in the playoffs. It also locks when you do that on purpose, it locks your roster, and it means that if there's a really, like, let's say if Joe Harris got hurt today on the Nets, that would mean Patty Mills is a must own. Like right now, he's a nice to own. I own him in several leagues. But if Joe Harris got hurt, Patty Mills would become just like, you have to own him because he's going to get like 5 or 6 more shot attempts per game. If I had a healthy player in my injured reserve list, I would not be able to add anyone until the next day. So yes, you can abuse it a little bit to carry an extra roster slot, but at the beginning of the season when information is changing constantly, it's better for you to have that roster maneuverability than to carry that extra slot. All right, brother. Good session. I hope you learned something, and we'll do another one like in a week or two and see what your progress was.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll do that, and I'm gonna go watch your waiver.
Yeah, check out the YouTube channel. I'll send you the link if you haven't already found it.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Trash Talk Fantasy Basketball. Also, if you look at Reddit, I'm posting all my videos in the Fantasy Basketball Reddit forum, which also has a lot of good conversations. All right, brother. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. See you guys later. Oh, by the way, subscribe to the channel if you're watching this. Also, if you have any questions for me, please put them in the chat. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.